Welcome to game 3 of my Bayou Battles experience. This game I was playing against Stephen Firth and his Ratkin. Again, more rats. Rats was my theme of my day one, unfortunately. He had a very deadly, very shooty Ratkin list. So he had the Demon Spawn, you'll see him in the back. He had 3 units of Warriors of Spears. He had 3 of those shooty bell things. He had 3 of the flame cannon things. He had lightning bolts coming out as Wazang. He had nothing but shooting. Yeah. So when we deployed, though, again, the Scrying Gem was the hero because I made him deploy 4 units in the beginning. So he sort of had to tip his hand as to where his things were going to go, and it also gave me an opportunity to out-deploy him by about 4 units. We, again, had about the same amount of deployment drops, but with the Scrying Gem, boom, love that thing, best item ever. It forced him to deploy. So this game was a little tricky in that it was like this weird modified version of Dominate. So there were 3 objective markers in the center of the board. In the theme of this particular match, they were Maw Beasts that were prize Maw Beasts. The central Maw Beast was the gold medal Maw Beast, and he was worth 8 points. And then the one on the left-hand side was worth 5 points, and the one on the right-hand side was worth 3 points. And in order to score points, you had to have a unit fully within an 8-inch radius of a given Maw Beast token. If you were covering 2 different radii, then whichever one had your leader point was the one that you were occupying. So, he went ahead. This is the center of his deployment line. Pretty much his entire deployment was right here. And here's mine. On the left-hand side, I got my king. On the far left, hidden behind the forest, I've got my little Defense 6 cadre there on the left. I've got 2 organ cannons with nice, clear, pretty shots to his infantry. In the middle, I've got ironclad that are there basically to just take a bullet. I've got the flame cannon, so I can start advancing that up towards those 2 different objectives, the 5 and the 8, which is my plan, is to take those 2 and win. And then on the right-hand side, I've got a big stack of strength. So on the right-hand side, I figured that his demon spawn was over there. I would need my Brock Riders, my shield breakers. I would basically need my strength on the right-hand side to counter it and to force him to commit it or force him to fight. He got first turn. He advanced a little bit and immediately started in on shooting. Wound up wavering one of my organ cannons. This is where we got where we didn't know it at the time. I'd always played it this way, and in a conversation on the forums, on the Magic forums, it seems like this is what's intended, but the rulebook might be a little different, so I'd love to see a discussion on this. I've Headstrong. This got wavered in the first turn. He made his Headstrong check in the following turn and was able to shoot, but according to Steven, when he looked it up, he didn't think it was because things that come out of Headstrong are disrupted. I did have that conversation on the official forums where that was not the understood way that it worked with War Machines that were Headstrong, but I could be wrong, so I'd love to hear about it. I'm going to ask that question on the official forums. It would have had a pretty significant impact on the game, possibly. I did a bunch of wounds to 2 of his units through those things. I still think I would have had the same overall end, but it did have an impact, so it is significant. So I hope I didn't cheat him out of, inadvertently cheat him out of a win, but anyway, here we go. Spoiler alert, this game goes well. All right, I gotta stop doing that. I keep spoiling these things before they get down to the nitty gritty. So anyway, he did some wounds. Did a couple wounds to the ironclad. I wasn't sure why he was shooting these units here. Maybe just to sort of set him up for failure later. I'm not certain. But anyway, took a couple wounds on the ironclad. I was fine with that. And yep, there's the wounds on the organ cannon. This is my turn, so I take off the waiver token. I start advancing some stuff up, leaving an open field for the organ cannons to fire. And I do about 10 wounds to the central unit of rats, but they don't pop or waver. On the following turn, he pretty much just shoots more units. So he does more wounds to the ironclad. He does more units to that unit, which wavers again. He does a couple of wounds to the giant. Yep, that all happened there. And so that's wounds after his shooting. A couple wounds here, a couple wounds there. And my advancement, I'm just sort of playing footsie with him, trying to set up a countercharge of the Brock Riders and tempt him into charging his Demon Prince out to deal with the Shield Breakers. I don't think he's going to take the bait, but I may as well set it just in case. On my turn, I start bringing things up and turning it into kind of like a pile, which seems to be my new strategy for dealing with shooty lists. I'm just going to pile my power into one place, use it to screen itself, advance it, and then fight with whatever survives. And that's just a crappy picture of the same thing. So I once again remove the waver token, do some more shooting, and I advance my, on the left-hand side, I start advancing my elementals up. I figure, I see that he's actually in a bad spot if I can survive the storm of fire, and because he's spreading his fire out, I think I can. So my plan is I'm going to advance the hasted earth elementals up. I'm going to take out the middle unit. On the following turn, I'm going to advance them again. I'm going to fire into that left-hand unit with everything that I can shoot into it, everything that I can get there, and then I'm going to surge into them and hopefully pop them. You'll see that my king has made it behind his lines. I charged into the monster thing that shoots once because he did a good job of hiding his fire teams back there. So that's useful. He's going to do useful things pretty much all game. I also advanced up into the middle. The ironclad I'm not too worried about, right? I know I need at least one of them to survive so that I can claim that central objective even if everything else fails. So I'm just going to hide him behind that hill and hope he forgets about them and doesn't take them out. So I pop the central unit with organ gunfire and just do a wound to that guy, which is enough to stop him from shooting on the following turn. And he kills that organ cannon on his counter shots. He does a couple of wounds with flame cannons on the king. What is this? Is this my charge? I don't remember. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, okay, so yeah, I did a bunch of shooting to his unit, and then I think I surged in. And then here we go. So on the right-hand side, I decided to pull the trigger. I charge, which could have been a mistake. I don't know. Anyway, I charged the Berserker Brock Riders into the front of that unit. I start moving things around and preventing any counter charges from his demon spawn. So now I've got Brock Riders, and Shield Breakers backing him up with the hero that can do some pretty good things to that demon spawn. I charge the king into his war machine, and I double one his stupid unit of spears, stymieing me for a turn. There's also a mistake I made in here in my calculation on what I was going to do. I was going to shoot and then surge, which would prevent... Anyway, in my head, I thought I could pop them with shooting and then surge through to the thing beyond, which was stupid. You can't do that, so that was a bit of a mistake and cost me a turn. But then he double won this guy, and they stand. Over here, I did like only 7 wounds to that unit, which left him standing, which left me a little bit vulnerable, more vulnerable than I would like to be to a countercharge from his Demon Prince. And here's where I think he made his fatal mistake. I actually think this is where he cost himself the game, because he should have been aggressive with his Demon. At this point, the Demon could get behind the lines and start wreaking havoc, or could get into the lines and start wreaking havoc, but instead he just hit him and drew him out to shoot more lightning bolts. I finally killed, on the left-hand side, I killed stuff and was continuing to work with my king on his other units, advancing up, getting the flame cannon into play. And then probably lots of things happened at this point, and this is actually the end of the game. So, sorry I missed some pictures. Things got, again, pretty intense. We did a lot of talking. It was a really good tactical game, and that usually means I don't reach for my camera because I care more about trying to get things done and playing through than the pictures. So he tried to get to the central objective. What happened was I killed the rest of his big rats off. I did as many wounds as I could to his other units. He tried to advance them. He did some really smart flanking with his units and took out my Berserker Brock Riders, something that I didn't see. I turned around. I had a pretty good move with those Shield Breakers. I was facing his demon, and I decided that what I was going to do, because we were at the top of 6, bottom of 6, whatever, towards the last turn, I just turned my back to them and moved them up towards that central objective. He very wisely threw his weapons team in the way for them to be chaffed up. He brought his Demon Prince into play. However, I killed that weapons team in the following turn. And this is the same picture, just a little bit more clear. And that's on the right-hand side. All right, and that's the next game. So let's go back. So anyway, I killed that weapons team. I got my. I didn't get my Shield Breakers into the radius with all of them there, so they didn't get the points. But I got more than enough points in the middle to get to win that objective. You only had to have 50 more points than your opponent. So, and then I used that troop of Brock Riders. I turned them around and jumped on the 3-point objective over on the right. So at the end of the game, at the bottom of 6, I wound up holding all 3 objectives, getting 18 points, and he got 4 points for contesting 2 of them having models within the radius. It was a really good game. The 18-4 score shouldn't indicate that I smoked him, because I didn't. I went second, and that's what happens, on objective-based scenarios. I know that I hope that I was right about the Headstrong War Machines. If not, then I apologize to Steven for that. That sucks. I was under a misimpression. But anyway, that's it. That's the game. So that's 2 wins in a row. So one small loss and 2 big wins. I was feeling fairly good going into game 4, which would round out the day.